morning and welcome back to Planner Craft. I'm Natalie and today we're going to be talking about glow in the dark stickers. So very quickly I'm going to pop overhead and you'll see the material that we are using today. So this is from Silhouette. You get 2 sheets in a pack and it is printable glow in the dark sticker paper. Now you can use this either with inkjet or laser printers, and from here on in hopefully I'll be able to switch over to display so that I can see comments. So there may be a break in the middle of today's stream depending on what time Ian comes. So I may have to just change quickly between cameras so that I can see comments, and here he is, I think. At least I hope it's him. Other than that I'm being broken into. So, without too much further ado, I'm going to switch to display. And we can get started. So we're going to start by creating a new document, and we're going to go to print and A4 because the sticker material is A4. We are going to leave our DPI at 300 because we want it to be of a reasonable quality when we're doing our printing, and we're going to create. Now while you're doing that, I'm very quickly going to grab my phone so I can see comments. So, let's get to Facebook and hopefully I'll see comments on there. So, hi here, Louise, Joyce, Tracy, Deb, Rachel, Linda, and Jill. I think I've got everyone. So if you have any questions throughout this morning, just let me know. Hey.
I'll explain everything.
Okay, cool. Okay, so with our document started, you may be thinking, how are we going to do things like registration marks and things like that? So we're going to do everything in layers in Affinity. Now, if you are working in SCAL, or shortcuts a lot to give it its full name, you're going to do everything the exact same way as what I'm doing here. If you're working with Silhouette and a Silhouette cutter, you can use their registration marks that are built in. If you're using Silhouette with a ScanNCut, then just follow what I do, okay? Other software that you could be using, you could be using Adobe Illustrator. If you have Adobe Illustrator with a ScanNCut link, use the registration marks that are built into that for your SDX machine. If you're using the ScanNCut link with a CM model, you will need to follow what I do. And I think that's just about everything that you might cover. Inkscape, you're going to do the same as what I do here, and Corel, you're going to do the same as what I do here. So I'm going to create a new layer and we're going to call it registration. Doesn't matter if you do a typo like I did. And there's several different ways that we can use to create registration marks. So the one that you'll see me use more often than not is a nice straight line. So that's where we get our pen tool and we go, okay, we're going to do our shape up here. So that is one option. And you can click back on your arrow tool and you have something that looks like that. Now the idea being that when we export it, you're going to print it with that on, and you're also going to export your cut file with that still in, so you can do your scan and line it up. If you're working in Silhouette with a Silhouette Studio, you don't have to worry about this step and it will automatically scan those registration marks. Likewise with the ScanNCut link with Adobe Illustrator, if you're using an SDX, it goes automatically off its own registration marks too, so you get to have a free pass. You can see on stream or not?
No,
Okay.
we can tell them tomorrow.
Okay. The other option that we have is to use a black square. Now the squares are useful if you're going to be doing lots of coloured layers usually. So if you've watched some of my colouring videos with the ScanNCut, you'll know that I use that when we're doing things like that. It's also useful for doing different colour designs in vinyl because you can just peel off the squares at the end. So those are your two ways that you can do your registration marks manually. So I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller, like so. And ideally you want to put one in either of these bottom corners, so you can just take one that you've already done, copy it, rotate it round. So by pressing and holding shift in most software you're going to snap that to the 90 degrees. Okay, so hopefully you're doing okay. If you're creating along, let me know. And morning Carol. Now my phone's been a bit dense and not letting me see comments all the time. Yeah, it's a bit tricky for me to see because, like most complaints that we have with Facebook, it's light text on a light background, so it's not good. Not good. So there's our registration marks done and dusted. So we can close that up and we can lock that layer. So basically the locking is there so that you aren't selecting it. So I can start a new layer.
Yeah, it says morning as well.
Morning!
Morning all.
And we're going to go print. So this is going to be where you're going to do all the pretty bits. Now with your glow in the dark stickers, anything that is white is going to be what glows in the dark. If you're using a laser printer in particular, anything that you print with a colour or with black is going to basically hide that glow in the dark surface. Okay. Now if you're using an inkjet you may find that paler colours will still glow. Just because the amount of coverage that you get with a laser, you definitely want to keep white for where you want it to glow. So let's create our first sticker, and you can be doing any size stickers that you want. Okay, we've got to guess what Carol just got. I'm going to go laser printer, heat press, and we're going to put a colour in. So this nice strong purple should block out all of the glow in the dark. So now what we're going to do is we can actually draw into that with white to reveal the colour underneath. So let's go for our pencil. I'm going to zoom in so we can see our sticker nice and big. And I'm going to do a really rough ghost shape. Really rough. Now if you don't quite make those dots meet like I just did, just select the two and then we can go up here and we're going to go to close curve. So it's the second option along, and that's going to close the gap. Then we can go to fill, and it feels like it, and we can put white in. So that's going to reveal that kind of pale green surface of our glow in the dark sticker. So it's not going to be white, but it means that when it is going to, oh, the force shield. Yeah, stamp still to come, darling.
that took a long time to get there.
It did, didn't it? So I'm just going to smooth off this one pointy corner here.
So nobody else was next day.
And I'm going to bake that. Yeah, it did take a long time. So we have something that kind of resembles a ghost, and we can put in some eyes if we want to. So with our eyes we're going to fill those in black. Now you get to decide if your ghost is friendly or not. I think he looks fairly friendly, so let's...
He looks petrified, to be honest, for a ghost.
Let's put a smile on his face. Now if we go down to pressure and width, we're going to just make his smile a bit wider. There we go. And we can use our pressure to adjust that stroke so he's going to smile. There we go. So all I've done is just pull down on the two outside points. That's going to make the ends thinner, and by pushing this one up in the middle, it's going to make this bit thicker. And when you're happy with that, you can go to layer, expand stroke, like so. And let's just move it there.
And Sally says morning.
Morning! So there's our first glow in the dark sticker. So next you might want to do some text. So how can we use glow in the dark with that? I'm going to take my sticker base, I'm going to duplicate it, and this time let's do something that's a bit longer. Okay, so there's our sticker box. We can go to text, and I'm going to type it off of the box for now, and we can put Halloween. I want it bigger, so I can just click and drag that top corner, and let's pick a different font.
So she said boo.
Boo. And Louise, can you drop me a message to sort out payment for stamps? Let's go for that one. So, if we were to just do this in white, it's going to make those letters glow. And I'll show that. So wherever those letters are white is where it's going to glow through. But it might be that you want to do something a little bit different. So let's make them orange. Okay. Then in stroke, we can put a stroke on the outside. We can make it bigger. And most importantly, we can actually make it so that it is white. So if we go up to our swatches panel, top right, click on the hollow circle, that means that that's the stroke, and we're going to put white around the outside. So that means that outline is where it's going to actually glow in the dark. So I'm going to make that a little bit bigger, so not that big, so that we can actually see it when it's actually printed. So one of the things you want to bear in mind is if you are printing with an inkjet, you can find that a white line actually starts to get filled in a little. So if you go a little bit larger than what you're thinking, then you'll get more of the results that you're considering. So now we can go to layer, we can go expand stroke. So that now makes that white line an object all on itself. So if we go down to our text, wherever it is, where's it gone and hidden? Let's do convert to curves first, shall we? There we go. And I want to ungroup it so that I can get all the stroke. So to make life easier at this point, we're going to weld all those letters together into one line, because our outline isn't touching, our characters aren't overlapping, so there's going to be nothing that's going to get in the way of what we're going to do next. We're going to go to layer and expand stroke, so that you now have that outline as a separate object. And what we can do is we can actually drop it down underneath. So now if I zoom in, you can see that now our orange looks like it's bigger. It hasn't actually changed dimension at all. It's just because we've taken that outline and popped it underneath. And we're going to select it and we're going to move it, so you can actually start to create a 3D effect. So that means that parts of our design are actually going to glow in the dark rather than the whole outline. Now if you still want to put a bit of an outline back on that Halloween, you can do. So you can do that process of taking a stroke from the outline and moving it as many times as you like. So if you want to infill the gap in green, you can do that same process and infill the gap in green, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm going to go stroke, reduce the width because I don't want it to be as strong, and we're going to make sure that it is white. Like so. Another way that you can do it is if you click on your outline layer, you can actually start to play with that outline too. So if there's bits that you want to put a bit of a divider in between where your outline is here and where your outline is here, you can do that using stroke too. And likewise, if you want to put a double outline around the outside of this text here, do that same process of expanding the stroke, and then you can add that stroke around the outside. So hopefully I haven't got you totally confused and you have something that looks a bit like that. So now what we can do is we can take that rectangle and we can actually shrink it up. Where's it behaving? It's having one of those days today, Ian. Come on, let me get to the handles. It's not liking me today.
It's going to change the name of the object.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I just want to have me arrows. He's been dent. You gotta love it when it glitches, haven't you? There we go. Glitch, glitch. So now we want to make sure that our text lines up with the middle. Now obviously if we then align everything to the middle at this point, it's going to move that back outline that we put in so that it is lined up underneath where that Halloween is, which we don't want. So what you want to do is you want to select the outline and your text, and we're going to group it. Okay. Then we're going to select that and our sticker background, and we can do our line. So up at the top you've got a little line button. We can go centre and apply. That now means your text is in the middle of your sticker, and we can move it up to line up there. Now what I would say is before you print this, you want to fill this entire sheet. Okay, so this isn't one that you can just do a little bit and go back to it. You literally do have to fill your entire sheet up at this point. So this is why I said it may end up being that we do this in two parts, because otherwise I'm going to bore you. Something chronic. So the other thing that we can do is we can place an image file. Now if you're doing this in SCAL, if you use a transparent background, it's going to bring your cut line in for you, and that's fine, you can use that. I'm going to go to downloads and let's see what we've got.
The house is funky.
The house is funky. The house could probably work quite well actually, because what it means is everywhere where it's white it's going to glow, so we could actually do a little bit of work in the image itself if we've got one that isn't too complex.
I quite like that one, it's cool.
That one, yeah, I think that one. Let's go for that. So we can place that in. Okay. So with that there, we can zoom in and we can use our pen tool or our pencil tool to trace around these windows. So just because I haven't got my graphics tablet out, I'm going to use the pen tool. It's a bit easier. And we can take that around there. Now if snapping is getting in your way, don't be afraid to use that Alt key. Now as we start to draw, you're going to see that we've got this stroke happening, and that's because where we did our altered stroke before. Don't worry about that, just ignore it as best as you can and just focus on that centre line. And we're going to take that up there a little bit and back to there. Then if we go up to the top swatch here, you can see we've got our white stroke, but our fill is empty, so we can just reverse those two rounds using the little two-way arrow.
Corinne says hi all.
Hi Corinne. So again, we can start on the next one. So when you're drawing your curves, ideally you want to try and keep your handles either vertically or horizontally or on the 45 degree. So it looks like on this one the 45 degree is going to be our best bet. And we're going to go there and press and hold just so that we can get that where we want to. So again, our solid circle needs to be white. So you should have something that looks like that. And we're going to do the same for each window or each place that we want to have our glow in the dark appear. Going to be snuffing that now. If you have somewhere like that where it just won't behave, don't panic. I'm going to zoom in. And now your image quality is going to look like it's appalling, but it's just because we're zoomed in so much. I'm just going to press and hold my Alt key so that I can move the node to where it needs to go. If you press and hold the Alt key, you can also alter your handles independently. So if you need to get like a nice sharp corner. And then we can fill that in white too. Click off it, and there we go. So I may as well do this last one while I'm here. And do a little curve that's going to go about there. So this is one of those weird ones where you're not going to get it quite on the 45. And back there. And again, fill that with white. So now that top window will glow in the dark, while our lower windows are just going to be orange at the moment. So what you would want to do is go through and do each window, which I will probably do off stream.
Ready for tomorrow.
Yeah, ready for tomorrow. So, are there any questions about how I've done any of that so far? Ooh, who are you making samples for, Louise?
If you're allowed to say.
Yeah, if you're allowed to say. Only yeah.
What's up there?
What?
Wonder where you put the mic.
Oh, I put it between us because I did show briefly on camera the actual sticker material. Had Ian confused, he couldn't see the microphone. Right, let's play something else while we're waiting for questions. Let's go back to our downloads and see what else we've got that's a bit spooky. We've got some Halloween clip art. So, yeah. Let's go for the kitty cat because this could be a funny one. So I'm going to draw him in. So here's our kitty cat. And I'm sure you can see where I'm going to go with this one. Because there's nothing spookier than glowing eyes. So you might see something like this and think, oh, it's a watercolour one, I can't do it. There's actually 2 ways that you can do it. And I think it might be a fun point to introduce you to something I haven't really covered yet. So we're going to go into the pixel persona. So that's this little dotted icon up here, and you probably haven't really touched it, don't really understand what it does. So basically what it does is it turns Designer from being Illustrator in disguise to being Photoshop in disguise. So you're totally changing the tool set. And we can actually get an eraser. And just down here at the bottom of our layers panel, you'll see that there is now a button that says mask layer. So when we do that, essentially what you're going to say is that there are going to be bits of this image you want to hide away. But the good thing is, if you go wrong at any point, you can just brush it back out. So that's why we work on a mask. So if we click and go like this, we can start to take out whole areas of colour. Now at the moment my brush is quite big, so I'm going to do the big areas. But then when we start to get more detailed, we can get a much smaller brush. So we can zoom in. I'm going to shrink my brush down. And we can go in there like so. Now if you don't get every single bit of green, it's not going to hurt too much, because the material itself kind of has
green tinge
a green tinge, so it should blend in. But we're going to go around here with the erase tool, and if we go wrong at any point, you can just switch to the brush and brush it back in. There's one eye.
Magic graphics again.
Aha. Okay, so what I'm doing there is just pressing and holding shift, and it's going to draw between 2 points. So rather than having to have a really steady hand, you can just do little clicks and it's going to join up the dots, which you may find easier if you can't get the level control that you want with a mouse.
She loves the spooky eyes.
So then that will glow in the dark. So at this point you might go, well, yeah, that's great, I love what you've done to that image, but I don't want to do all that fussy cutting around that cat, thank you very much. That's okay, because you can still pop a colour underneath. So if we go back to our vector persona, we can go and put in a colour. I'm just going to click off the mask. So let's draw that in there. And let's go for a lime green.
Lime green eyes.
Yeah, so now you can see what is actually going on with our mask. So we haven't painted in white, we've removed the area of the image. So if you want to do this where you've got your eyes still glow in the dark, there's a really quick and easy way that we can get that back to how we want it. Really, really quick. Okay? So one option is that you duplicate the mask and apply that on. Dead simple. Or if you're being really lazy, you can just go pop an oval in, and we're going to colour that white instead. And we can move that down a bit, and job done. There you go. We have our glow in the dark cat, and we can change the colour of that oval then if we want to so that it starts to tie in a bit more. It's not quite right for the colour. So if we go to colour, you can see we've got these sliders here. So that means that we can actually start to play with the colour. So I'm going to go like that, and maybe a little bit of black, so that the glow in the dark then is going to shine much more. There we go. So something like the skull there, because you've got a lot of white in it already, you're probably going to want to leave that pretty much as is. But what you will find, which will look funky when you actually come to see the glow in the dark, is that you'll get like a tinting to your glow in the dark. So you do still get a little bit of that shading in it.
Are they Creative Fabrica files or are they?
Yes, yeah. So they've all been different freebies. So do download your daily freebie because they do come in handy. Something like the sweets, you might want to take the dots out so that they glow in the dark. You can make the teeth glow in the dark and do a Ross. Let's
Nice
see.
scroll. Oh, crystal.
Yeah. Not as good as my crystal though.
Mm.
I need to catch up with my Inktober. Let's see. So it's something like this where you've got the bottle. You might go, okay, at the moment the white bit of the bottle is going to glow and the contents are going to be in darkness. So you might go, well actually I want to turn that round. So what you would do is actually darken down your bottle and lighten up the contents. So you don't have to go all the way to white. You can still keep that. You can have glow in the dark spider eyes. And likewise Vampire's going to glow in the dark, so he looked really good on a sort of orangey background where he's still going to have enough contrast where his hair is. And you'd go on a dark background for your skeleton too. Should I do skeleton? Let's do that. Let's pop him in there. And again, we can take a copy of our original rectangle. So this is useful if you're working with planner stickers and things like that. And we can pop our skeleton on there. What else can I do? Oh, excuse me. See, that one will look quite cool because the light area in that's going to shine, and you're going to get the shine through the stars as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's just do that open. And we can place that one in, and we can keep that one to shape. So, with what we have there already, that's going to be great for printing, but when we come to do our cutting, we haven't put a cut line in yet. So, I'm going to shrink that up, and I'm going to duplicate the layer. So that's going to take everything that we've just done, and I'm going to call this layer cut. Now, the only thing we want in our cut layer is an outside guideline, so it should look like a load of black lines. So let's do the easy ones first. Our ellipse is nice and easy because that is just going to have a black stroke, and we can take out the colour out the middle so that it has the little white with the red line through. The ellipse that is behind our cat we don't need, and we don't need our cat here. Okay, so you're just left with just that cut line on this layer. Now let's go down to here, and our rectangle we're going to do the same. So take out the fill and then put on the stroke, and you've got the black line that goes around the outside, even if you can't quite see it yet. You can always check your preview. So as long as you can see the line in the preview, you know you've done your job right. So clear and apply a stroke. And clear and apply the stroke. So that now gives you a cut line for that one. Now, obviously, with the rest of it, we don't need these elements, so we can, not do that. Let's undo that back out, shall we?
What did that do?
That deleted a load. Didn't want to do that. Let's go back a bit more. There we go. Bit more, bit more. There. There we go. Okay, so I want that and that and that to go, so I can delete those. Now, where we've got our images, we're going to delete those out too, because we're going to have to trace those manually. So this one here and this one here, we still have to trace manually in this layer, unless you're using SCAL. So what you would do is literally get your pen tool, and let's do this one easier. We can cheat. So don't think that you've got to literally go around and trace everything. If there is something that is really obviously a basic shape, then make it a basic shape.
Karen says, so wish I could use this program, but it seems too daunting to me.
No, it's dead easy. Dead easy. Trust me.
You can always do a one-to-one.
Yep. You'll soon pick it up. Trust me. Now, with our bottom section, we can just click for a corner point, and then we're going to click and drag to do a curve, like so. And we can continue that curve round. Now, as I said before, you do not have to get this curve right first time. So if it is misbehaving, then just do what it will let you do and fix it after. So you can see here my line is all over the shop. My stroke is annoying, so I'm going to reset that. And if it helps, you can make that fill colour in. You can make your stroke have a bright colour. I'm just going to do that, just so you can see if I'm working. I'm going to shrink up this handle here, and we can shrink down that handle there. So all these handles do is tell that line where it's going, and the longer the handle is, the more it's going to curve.
Karen asks, what does a one-to-one involve, please?
So one-to-one, you have a couple of options. You can either do one where you watch me work, or we can actually go one further and we can actually link up with your computer, and I can show you on your computer, and then you can show me that you can do it, and we can work backwards and forwards, which is cool, isn't it? Now, if it's something like this where it's symmetrical, we can switch back to our arrow tool. We can duplicate it using Command and J. That's going to copy it back in the same place, and we can flip it. So now we have a copy. Now it's not quite symmetrical, but as I said before, we can work with it. So let's line up this bit here, and then I can sort out this top node up there, because that needs to come back in there, like so. And this one needs to come down here. Let's go there. And now we can select both of those.
Go into the message status, and Sally says that's what I need to sort with you soon.
Oh, on one. And we're going to go to join. See, look, even Natty makes mistakes on occasion. So that's going to join those two curves together, like so. So now it is all one. Now we're going to select our top two. And now we're going to close it. So we have these two shapes. And as you might have guessed already, all we're going to do is just weld them together.
Reset your pressure again. It's got
Now, we are going to offset. Now, if you find it does something weird like this bit in here, don't worry about that at this point. But I am going to reset my offset, as Ian just said, because it's put it back in, like so. And we are going to bake. So what that essentially does is it takes that shape that we've just welded, it offsets it, and then it's going to convert it back to curves so that when we send it to our machine, it's not seeing anything weird. Now with our node tool, we're going to press A so that we can see all the nodes, and we can see that we've got a bit of a jumble going on in the corners here, so we can just take that out. Like so. And you should have something that looks like that.
Let's look that corner in.
I could, but yeah.
It'll only bug you if you don't.
Yeah, true. So, take that one out there, and then can you just swap that like that. There we go.
Did you know you're a perfectionist?
Likewise with this one here, we can do a circle for the sun in the background, or the moon, whichever. You know what I mean. And we can do a semicircle for this bit and a semicircle for these bits, and then we can weld it and play with it before doing that offset. So I can carry on doing that for a bit. So drawing a circle, line it up, so it's about there, maybe squidge it up a little. There we go. So it's not quite circle, but it's close enough. So there that is. Now if you find it goes into the wrong layer, do yourself a favour, click and drag it up into the right one. Otherwise when we come to do the printing, it's going to look a mess. And next we can go to our segment tool, and we can click and drag another one. Now with our segment tool, if you look carefully at the bottom of your shape, you've got a little red dot. We're going to hover over that, and we can actually control how much of that segment that we use. So that's how we get to do things like semicircles. And we can move that down. We can go, okay, I wasn't far off there, but it needs to go a little bit wider, so we can stretch it that way. Again, if it's snapping annoyingly, just press and hold that Alt key. Like so. Take that down to about there. And bring it up from the bottom. There we go. And we now have our base shape here. Now remember, we're going to use our offset anyway, so don't think you've got to get it this spot on with every little node. So then, before you go too far, just convert that to curves. And it's just going to save having that empty area that if you click on it's going to select the wrong thing. So we can do the same for each of our little tombstones.
You don't want to go.
You don't need to for the circles usually. Usually with circles, your ScanNCut won't care. It tends to be your other shapes that will start to play up. So I'm just very roughly going to line that up there. We can press and hold Alt, and we can have another one that goes over here. We can twist that round if it needs to be a bit more angled. Like so. Okay. And we can use our pen tool to do the area here, like so. And I'm just clicking at this point because if I need to put any curves in, I can do that after the weld. And same here, so start it there, up to there, back in there, there, on that corner there, and there, back down here, and across. Now, with your tree, you can make a decision at this point whether you want to include that or not. Because if you want to go, actually, do you know what, don't really like it, don't like how it finishes on that straight line, that's fine. You can just leave it as is. And when we do our offset, it just means that we get a little bit of the tree round here, and it just stops nice and flat. So to show you what I mean, we can take all of those elements, especially if they've been knotty, and let's put that up there, and we're going to select this one, this one, this one, and that one. So all our red lines are now selected, and we're going to weld them together. Now we can do our offset. So you can see where I say don't worry about messing with the details too much. And we can bake appearance. Take out that centre node in there, and we have a sticker. Ta-da!
You want to show just what the cut layer shows at the back?
Yep. So what you would do is when you filled your sheets, shrink your layers up so that you can see them like this. You're going to hide your cut layer, okay, and then you're going to send that sheet as it is to print. So this, you should have a nice full sheet, so you can send that to print. Then when you've printed it, you're going to hide the print layer and show the cut layer, and you're going to go to export and use your ScanNCut settings. And let's start a new folder. So I've got glow in the dark stickers. Great. And we can say Halloween cut file. Okay. Now let's say you're doing this for somebody else to print, then you can always go to File, Export, PDF, and export it as a PDF too. So this would be Halloween, print, file, and save.
Would you save it overall as well as like your AI file, just save got?
Yeah, so whatever your native file format is, go to Save As, and it should automatically choose that. And go back to that same folder, and we can call it Halloween Artwork. So you always have a way to step backwards if you need to. Handy for if you were doing things like personalisation, where you might not want to actually convert it to curves first. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So, any questions before we go for today? Because our hour is nearly up, and then what I will do tomorrow is I will show you how to take your print, how to cut it, and what you need to do after that before you use your sticker, because there is quite an important step that we need to do, particularly if you're using a laser printer, that can easily be missed.
Do you need to remind people when they do the cut layer and the printer, they both always need to leave the registration on?
The registration layer needs to be on both options so that you can actually line them up. So this is where you're going to use your scanner in your ScanNCut, or if you're using the silhouette and you're using the silhouette registration layer, you need to leave that on so that it can see that too.
Can you show the stickers? I missed the start.
Oh, yep, yep. Oh, let me. Do you want to just go to overhead?
You need to reattach your
I'll
camera
reattach
first.
it. Yeah, that would help.
Now we have this one to see comments.
Okay. Bear with me one moment, just while I reattach camera.
And what's the angel policy on these?
The angel policy on the Creative Fabrica ones are usually, I believe, for commercial. But with each file, do check, because it can vary between downloads. Oh, is it?
It will probably have rotated. So. Oh, ow. Oh. Did it?
There we go. There we go.
Okay.
Should be back in
we
and
can go
on.
overhead. There we go.
Okay, let's check that that's gone across okay. Yep. So, you get 2 sheets in a pack. I've only got 1 sheet left. So this is why I say that you need to make sure that you are filling your sheet, because unlike other sticker paper that we'll be introducing you to, this one I wouldn't recommend using with your stamps or inks, just because you're going to find it's going to be a little bit harder to work with.
But it does glow.
It glows lovely. I think there should be a photo of it glowing, but I'm not sure whether it's up yet. I'm trying to think which way around it did it for my blog pieces.
No, it's not yet, is it?
But keep an eye out on the Silhouette UK Instagram, because you'll see on there first when my blog piece goes live. Yeah, definitely watch again and practice, 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 especially with things like the pixel persona. So if anybody wants me to just go over that again, I don't mind, because there's lots of ways that we can work with images in Affinity Designer without needing other software like Affinity Photo or Photoshop. So it's really versatile as a program. Am I allowed to just quickly show what they look like if I'm quick?
If you quit, where is it?
It's in the front room.
Do you know where it is?
No. You moved it.
Where is the colour for your mat?
I was cutting literally just before I went live, or trying to.
Oh dear.
I was trying to cut out. I was being lazy, if I'm being honest. I was trying to cut out all the elements out of this paper here, but it didn't want to play ball. So literally, it was like, oh dear, that's the time I better stop doing that. I was a little bit lazy this morning. But no, it didn't work, so I will be cutting out lots of boxes by hand. Yay! Or using the tracing paper trick. And see you tomorrow, Sally.
No, you can't do a sneak peek.
You've lost it. How can you lose it? What's he like?
Put it in my safe.
But yes, they do really glow in the dark, and the more you charge them up, the better they get. So if you are doing these for a decor project, put it in the window in the daytime, and by night time it'll be like vivid. It's quite scary, I have to say, because we did a project where it was a little bit bigger, and you could have the eyes glowing, and yeah, it was a bit freaky.
No, in the front room.
Which is weird. We'll find it and we'll show it tomorrow. So, what I will say is bye for now, and see you tomorrow at 11. Bye!